Hi everyone, welcome to another Betakos video. In this video we are talking about Tottenham versus West Ham. Right now we are watching the screen from my personal spreadsheet. This is the overview of the schedule. This is the Tottenham Hotspur West Ham entry. Local time 18 hours and 30 minutes. We're about 30 minutes prior to the kickoff. Here we can have the odds class indicator. This is English Premier League 0.38 and this is the percent class indicator 2.62. I have 10 past meetings based on the odds class and 8 past meetings based on the percent class. My priority, my first choice is always to work on the odds class indicator. So I have just chosen odds in this cell, and this is the basic stats for this match. On those 10 past meetings we had 4 home wins, 5 draws, 1 away win, so this is very obvious that we should include some back on the draw scenario in this specific match. In other words, I would not go all in on the home win as a standard selection in this matchup. Okay, so let's have a look on the match betting stats card. We can see the full-time market, we can see the over-under markets, we can see the both teams to score, which is equally splitted. Here we have the indicator that the majority of the matches we had less than 3 goals scored. Then on the goals margin, total goal margins, we can see that we had 6 cases where we had 2 to 3 goals in total. Then we have the split for the half-time, full-time market. Now we move on the forecasting, but before we talk about forecasting, let's have a look on the goals average. This is the average for the last 5 sets of 5 matches, and the home team average 1.12 goals. In the same manner, the visitors average 0.56. So we can see that as an average, the home teams is scoring about double the figure compared to the visitors. The good thing for both of these averages is that we have a low standard deviation, which means that the sample is near this average. So we could say that this average represent fair enough the sample, okay, the actual score lines. We don't have too much of deviation between a score line and the average of the sample. So this is a very good indicator. And now the forecasting means that we try to answer the question: in this match, how many goals should the home team score? So the new set of 5 games, we get the average of 1.12 goals per match. In other words, we use the average for the last 5 sets of 5 games as a benchmark, and we are based on this figure, and we try to answer how many goals should be scored on the next match. So the newly formed set of 5 games to have the same average. So let's start combining all these things, because now it's the time where we should start making some decisions. We can see that the home team scores at least 1 goal per average. We can also have a look on the time series for this odds class. I have just filtered the odds class label. We can see that we have the 10 past meetings. This is the match we had in the past. We can see that Tottenham and West Ham have featured in one of these matches. The final result was a victory for Tottenham 2-0. Again, we can see that the total average is 1.2 and 0.7, and here we can see if we talked about the average for the last 5 sets of 5 games: 1 set, 2 sets, 3, 4, 5, and we can see the average 1.12. So that means that the first decision for me is that I need Tottenham to score at least 1 goal. Then my second big decision is that I cannot see West Ham scoring more than 2 goals. We have 2 past examples in this time series where the visitors actually managed to score 2 goals. We have no example of the away team scoring 3 or more goals. So I'm going to use it, and I'm going to base my second big decision on this fact. So I don't want to see West Ham scoring 3 or more goals. So now it's the time to visit the Betakos Stake Calculator. As you can see here, I have already set my 4 selections. I'm going to refresh this. We can see that based on these 4 selections, if one of these selections is going to be the winner, this is the profit margin, the net profit margin I would gain. Based on 100 units of total stakes, I would get my 100 units back plus a profit of 21 units as my gains. Okay, now if for any one of you this sounds too low, wait a minute, because we are not finished. We are going to talk about Betakos Stake Calculator and some features. The most basic features after we have just input our selections is to decide how we are going to use the remainder. We can see right here that the costs for these 4 selections is lower than the unit threshold. The unit threshold, it means that if we are below the 1 unit, then we have some profit margins. If the cost is equal to 1 unit or higher, then we don't have any profit margin available. So it has no meaning to go forward and to prepare such a staking plan. So right now we are sitting on below the 1 unit threshold. This is the remainder, and now we could focus on one out of these 4 selections, and we can choose one selection to go for it and use the rest as the safety net. So the first example would be if someone would fancy to see a high scoring draw, that would be the 2-2 score line. If we just select the corresponding cell and we just type 100%, that means that we are telling the calculator to use the 100% of the remainder and to push it, to add it to this selection, and this is what the result would be. We can see that 0 for the rest 3 selections. It means that we have no profit margin, we just take our stakes back, and in the case where the 2-2 score line is the winner, this is the profit margin we are going to have. So let me show you once again the difference. If we just leave it blank, right now the profit margin is equally split on each of the 4 selections, but we can choose to focus on just one of the selections. We can say, please give me 100% of my remainder into this selection, and we can see the profit margin rising up to almost 340% of net profit. Now the next option would be to focus on a group of selections. So if you strongly believe the draw scenario, and if you agree with my 2 big decisions, Tottenham to score at least, West Ham not scoring 3 or more goals, it means that the draw scenario would be covered on these two selections. If you would like to have equal profit no matter which of these two selections is the winner, then we have to group it. We have to group them. So we start by choosing the peak or the odds or the specific cells representing the row. So for me, not to be confused, I just select the peak column 1 to 1 and 2 to 2. I have select them. Then I want to move to the group column, so I hit the downward arrow, so the corresponding cells are selected. Then I'm going to name this group number 2, because group number 1 is already existing, and using the tab I move around these two specific selections. I name the second selection as group 2 again, and now I'm finished grouping. I have to move on the group modifier, and again I'm going to click on the downward arrow. Again the corresponding cells are selected, and now I have to decide how much of my remainder I'm willing to invest on this group. Again, let's go with the 100% choice. So I'm transferring 100% of my remainder to this group, which consists of the two specific score lines. After that, I have just to copy the group splitter to the biased remainder splitter just by clicking the arrow above the group splitter header. Okay, the figures are copied, and as we can see, we have the safety net for the rest two of the selections because we get 0 profit, and as we can see, we have managed to have equal profit in case one of the two selections belonging to group 2 is the winner. And in this example, if you fancy to back the draw scenario, then you could have a nice profit of 95% based on your stakes. Again, give yourself a moment to consider that you are going with 4 selections for this match, and you are covering the home win 100%. You are partially covering the draw, which is absolutely necessary based on the stats provided by the odds class, and then we are also trying to secure our stakes even in the scenario of an upset. Again, the upset is based on our two big decisions. If we combine that decision number 1 is Tottenham scoring at least 1 goal and West Ham not scoring 3 or more goals, then these two big decisions indicate that the first scoreline for this scenario is the 1-2 away win. So this is all for this video. This is an example of how we can utilize Betakos Stake Calculator to secure our stakes the best way possible, and then we can go after any kind of selection we like. And of course, the calculator is absolutely necessary because we can easily calculate the stakes needed on each of the selections, so we can apply our staking plan and make it happen in our bookie. So again, whatever is your funds, let's say it's something like this, okay, there's no other way to be able to easily calculate how much of this total stakes of yours is going to be on each of the selections in order for you to manage to make true your plan. So this is all for this video. It was Betakos talking about Tottenham Hotspur West Ham. I would also fancy to go for a draw. I like the profit margin available, so why not? Most chances is that I'm going to actually follow this scenario myself. Wish you luck no matter what you choose. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for your time and stick around. I talk to you on the next one. Bye bye.